Okay, all right. Well, good evening and welcome to another TFGON seminar. Tonight we have the great pleasure and to welcome another affiliate, which is Mission Readiness. We've had them on the calendar for a couple of times now, and we're super excited. We've got them nailed down. We're going to hear more about Mission Readiness. For those that are not as familiar with Mission Readiness, it's a national bipartisan organization of retired admirals and generals dedicated to strengthening the national security by ensuring that children stay in school, stay fit, and stay out of trouble. That sounds to me like what most good parents want from their kids as well. So this is really exciting to hear what you guys are working on. And I thought maybe we do is to start off, maybe we can go around and we can hear a little bit about you and then how did you get involved with Mission Readiness? So how about Jill, I start with you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us. My name is Jill Boxler. I'm the Executive Vice President of Strong Nation at the Institute for Child Success. And Strong Nation is the initiative under which Mission Readiness is now housed. I was formerly a part of Council for Strong America, along with Steve and Sally, so we were all colleagues. I was there for about 9 years, working in a variety of capacities with Mission Readiness and our two other advocacy networks, Fight Crime Investing Kids and Ready Nation. And I served on our federal policy team and finally as COO before moving over to the Institute for Child Success.
Thanks, Jill. Appreciate it. And for those, if you could mute that'd be great. Okay, hey Sally, how about you?
Sure, I'm Sally Pulio, and I'm the co-director of Mission Readiness in Illinois, where we are housed under an Illinois organization, and we call our broader project Civic Leaders for Illinois Children. And just like Jill mentioned, I joined Mission Readiness when it was under Council for a Strong America. I started there in about 2007. Also served in a variety of roles, including Vice President of State Operations, where I oversaw our state operations across multiple states. And then now I'm serving back in my Illinois role where I live. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you much. And then to you, Steve.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'll first apologize for my wonderful automobile backdrop here. I had fully intended to make it home in time for this, but I was driving from Boston and the New York City greater metro gods did not let me get through without a delay. So I made it within 50 minutes. So, but I'm Steve Doster. I'm the Pennsylvania State Director of Mission Readiness. I've been here since the beginning, since the launch of Mission Readiness in 2009. In fact, the first press conference of Mission Readiness Generals and Admirals actually happened in our Harrisburg state capitol, which was a mixture of regular Army and National Guard general officers from just down the road at our headquarters of the Pennsylvania National Guard 28th Infantry Division. So we've been working on the health and education of children here in Pennsylvania through this lens ever since.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for your dedication to actually do this from your vehicle. So thank you for that. So let me go ahead and share the slides with y'all. And there you go. Do you guys see that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. All right, let me go ahead and I'll do it full screen. There you go. And then, hey, Jill, over to you. I'll turn the slides. So you just tell me next, and I'll advance it for you.
Great. Well, thank you very much again, General Reynolds. And I know General Prophet isn't here, but we'd like to thank him for the invitation to join this webinar as well. In addition to serving on the TFGON board, he is also a Mission Readiness member. So it's great to be with you all tonight. And just want to thank you again for your service to our country and your interest in learning more about Mission Readiness. Today, our presentation will focus on the work of Mission Readiness and how it's supported, Mission Readiness's perspective on how what happens in the early years of life impacts a young learner's ability to be successful down the line, including their ability to serve in the military if they choose, and some examples of the issues we work on and stories, including, as General Reynolds said, some perspective from another TFGON board member and Mission Readiness member who's on the call, General Matchett. And there may also be some other Mission Readiness members who we haven't acknowledged who do join. And so if they want to chime in at the end, we would be happy to hear their perspectives as well. Next slide, please.
There you go.
Great. So let me begin by taking some time to describe mission readiness and its history. Mission Readiness, as was mentioned earlier, was formed in 2009. It's a national nonprofit advocacy network composed of retired admirals and generals who recognize that the strength of our country depends on a strong military. We have about 800 mission readiness members nationwide who advocate for research-based, bipartisan policy solutions at both the state and federal levels that are proven to prepare our youth for success in both school and life. Mission readiness members support policy and programs across the age continuum. And so specifically, we want young learners to have access to high quality childcare and early learning programs, to arrive at kindergarten prepared to learn, to be successful in their K through 12 education, to stay out of trouble and to stay fit, to graduate on time, and to have opportunities after high school graduation, including a career in the military if they choose. Our work is supported primarily by private philanthropic foundations. Our members are not asked to pay any dues. Instead, we ask for a commitment of their time and voices, which is a lot more important to us. This is always done on a case-by-case basis. Essentially, we as staff monitor policy opportunities and reach out to members when there's a chance to educate a policymaker or the public about a specific program that can help kids and strengthen national security. And we know through lots of work and some examples that will be shared that both Republicans and Democrats listen carefully when a retired military leader speaks out. So we are honored to support our members in using their voices to show how investing in kids at a young age makes our nation stronger. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, Mission Readiness has a presence nationwide. This map shows a little piece of where everyone lives. As you can see, we're in nearly every state, which is really useful, especially for federal policy. And although it's not included on this map, we have members in Hawaii and Alaska as well. It's just not pictured here. You can see the concentration on the East Coast. A lot of folks, especially in Virginia, having retired from government, Pentagon jobs, that type of thing. Next slide, please. So this next slide will talk about where Mission Readiness is based. From 2009 to 2024, Mission Readiness was part of an organization called Council for a Strong America, which was a nonprofit organization based out of Washington, D.C. And last year, due to fundraising and some structural challenges, Council for a Strong America dissolved as a national organization. And in that dissolution, we moved the intellectual property for Mission Readiness, which includes the membership list, the trademarks, branding, et cetera, to the Institute for Child Success so that the mission could continue. The Institute for Child Success is headquartered in South Carolina, but it focuses on policy, research, and advocacy nationwide in terms of helping children succeed. ICS now operates the National Mission Readiness Network as part of its Strong Nation initiative that I mentioned earlier. And for those of you who are familiar with the old version of Mission Readiness, this is similar to the national membership team that was at Council for a Strong America, although much leaner. And as Sally and Steve mentioned, through partnerships that ICS has with nonprofits in Pennsylvania, Illinois, Maine, and Washington State, people like Sally and Steve are operating Mission Readiness on the ground and advancing really deeply state policy. So in a nutshell, anyone in Illinois, Pennsylvania, Maine, and Washington are supported directly by folks like Sally, Steve, and other state leads, diving deep on state policy. And members in the remaining states are supported by a team at ICS. And at this point, that's mostly on federal policy. Next slide, please. So Mission Readiness is driven by a central problem statement, and that is that the majority of young people are not eligible to join the military. In fact, as many of you know, nationwide, 77% of young adults ages 17 to 24 can't qualify for military service. This data is based on the 2020 Department of Defense Qualified Military Available Study. The 77% national ineligibility rate is an increase from 2017, which had an already troubling rate of 71%. And so this is something that we've been watching since the inception of Mission Readiness in 2009, watching that ineligibility rate creep up to 77%. Next slide, please. So this slide is a little detailed, but it gives the breakdown of the national 77% ineligibility rate. So as you can see in the gray, most young adults, so 44%, are ineligible for the military for multiple reasons, not just one. And within that 44%, being overweight is the largest disqualifier for those with multiple reasons. In addition, mental health considerations are also a primary driver for ineligibility. And then when you look at the folks who are not disqualified for multiple reasons, but who are disqualified for a single reason, we find that the most prevalent reason is being overweight at 11%, drug abuse at 8%, medical and physical health considerations at 7%, as well as a few other reasons. And so that kind of funnels down to the remaining 23%, which are actually eligible. And as you can see, as represented in light blue, 11% of those who are eligible were enrolled in college in 2020, leaving a grand total in 2020 of 12%, or of course about 1 in 10 youth who are both qualified and available for service in the military. And so mission readiness exists because of this one serious number and the implications it has for both the future of national security and the next generation's success. So I'll now turn it over to Steve to discuss how mission readiness works to promote solutions that ensure that more young people are qualified for the military or whatever job they choose.
Thanks, Jill. And if I cut out, I am using cellular devices here, so just let me know. The one thing I would say off the top that we say quite often, mission readiness obviously is not a recruiting arm of Department of Defense. We are, as Jill said, a 501c3. We are looking to ensure that all kids, regardless of whether they want to go into the military or not, are capable of success. Because if you're not eligible to go into the military for the health and education requirements that the military looks for in their potential recruits, you know, that's a challenge for a young person to be accepted into college, to be successful in career moving forward. So it really is a rising tide lifting all boats in that regard. Can we advance to the next slide, sir? So, you know, what do we look for in our policy solutions? We are really looking to the front end of what is going to make a difference for kids to address the core problems in those ineligibility statistics. So front end investments in health and education. And that comes through a whole slew of policy opportunities. First and foremost, over the years, we have really looked to that front end of the education continuum through high quality early childhood care and education. This is high quality pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds. This can also be for children who find themselves in high quality childcare from a young age, ensuring that those programs are of high quality, using approved curriculum so that kids are making the most out of those most rapid period of brain development, those years from birth to 5. And what research has backed up is that, you know, ensuring that kids are equipped and reading on level and being prepared for kindergarten, that makes all the difference in the world to ensuring that they are ready to learn when they get into their K through 12 experience, and graduating on time and looking ahead to what is next. Then subsequently, you know, early childhood is only as good as the K through 12 system it feeds into. If you have a really great early childhood program and it feeds into an under-resourced public school, well, therein lies another problem. In Pennsylvania, we have, unfortunately, zip code really does matter in terms of educational opportunity and the quality of education. Our second tier urban cities like Reading, Pennsylvania, they're spending somewhere around $8,000 per child, and you drive down the road about an hour and 15 minutes to the Philadelphia suburbs, very wealthy enclave that is spending $28,000 per child. So we're seeing vast differences in educational opportunity and quality of education. So in Pennsylvania, we have really focused in on ensuring that children, regardless of their zip code, have that quality education in front of them, because the public school system truly is the feeder into what comes next. This also is an opportunity in terms of after school programs, both from the ability to create educational enrichment opportunities after the school day ends, but also on the fitness side. You know, after school programs are an opportunity for physical activity. It's even an opportunity to stress nutrition and proper eating habits among young people. And that really feeds into our final point there, looking at health, nutrition, and physical activity. We have addressed these buckets of issues very differently depending on where we are in the country. But we have done everything from advocate for bicycle and pedestrian friendly transportation improvements. In Pennsylvania here, we had a bill that we do a transportation bill once in a generation. And we worked with our children's hospitals, with the American Heart Association, lung, diabetes, cancer. We really led a sub-coalition to ensure that that transportation bill had resources in it to improve safe routes to school, ensuring that we're building communities that are walkable, bikeable. On the national level, dealing with nutrition, we are interested in those public support programs that ensure that children have a baseline of nutrition, programs like WIC and SNAP. We also, a decade ago, worked on improving school lunches, ensuring that the nutrition that children receive in a public school setting is actually helping their body, not harming their body. And then on the health side, part of ensuring health is making sure that children have access to health care. In Pennsylvania, about 50% of our children are on Medicaid. It is the single largest health insurance for children in the state of Pennsylvania. So earlier this year, when there were threats to Medicaid, that was concerning to us on multiple levels. But the first and foremost being the impact that it could have on long-term health outcomes for our children and our most at-risk children. The other thing that we did with our work on Medicaid is we partnered with Georgetown University, their Center for Children and Families, and we dug into looking at military families that actually rely on Medicaid because they are income eligible to supplement their TRICARE benefits. So they're actually they're braiding those two systems to ensure that their children are well cared for. So we elevated that conversation as well. Next slide, please. So I covered a lot of this in my previous comments here. You know, looking at the early years, you can see that graph on the right is one we like to show the impact, you know, routing more public investment to those first 5 years of life, where the brain is actually developing at its fastest rate, actually yields your greatest return on investment. And as the brain becomes hardwired and kids progress through K-12 and into secondary education, the ability to impact a child's trajectory begins to diminish there. The one thing I would also note at the bottom there in terms of access to childcare, we have elevated the argument for greater public investment in childcare from a two-generation model. I previously talked about, you know, the importance of high-quality childcare and the impact that it can have on putting kids on a path to success. But we also acknowledge that, you know, parents need childcare to go to work. And we often elevate and lift up the military child care system as a way to make that argument. Learning about the history of the military child care system and how it came into being in the 1980s, when they started to see more both mom and dad in uniform and serving, and the military made a commitment that high quality child care was essential to ensuring force readiness, and they made an investment at the federal level to ensure that high quality childcare was available to men and women in uniform. Now, there have been shortages all along the way, and we acknowledge that, and we're not saying there aren't challenges to solve within MCCS, but it is still by far a gold star program to elevate, especially when you look at it in comparison to what other states have. Next slide. Again, I won't reiterate myself here, but I covered this with my opening comments. What I'll say here, though, is I'll just comment on the pictures here. You really see our members in action there. Our members have done everything from attending school cafeterias and helping to elevate the call for better nutritious foods by sitting in and meeting with the students and interacting with the students. And sometimes we have the cameras rolling while they do this as we discuss these issues as a national security issue, especially when it comes to nutritious foods, having the ability to roll back the obesity statistics that we're all aware of and the large percentage of youth that are in that category. And then we, from that all the way to formal stand-up press conferences. This was actually one of our press conferences a handful of years ago in our Pennsylvania Capitol Rotunda, where we were releasing a report documenting how our state's investments in high quality pre-K childcare and K-12 investments truly are setting the stage for ensuring that kids are eligible to do whatever they want in life, inclusive of military service, if it is if that's what they choose to do. Next slide. Jill, when do you want me to kick this back over to you? I'm sorry, I'm in a dark car and can't look at my outline.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I think you covered the health, nutrition, and physical activity piece. You can probably advance to the next slide. And this will go to Sally.
Okay.
Hi. Just to reiterate some of what both Jill and Steve talked about, as you've likely gathered, what Mission Readiness members actually do is try to get all of this information in the hands of policymakers and the public. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tactics we use to do that. And then we're going to hear from an actual member about what that's like. The first thing I want to just emphasize is it's really true that when a retired flag officer or general officer speaks, it gets policymakers' attention really quickly. And it especially gets their attention when we're talking about these issues. They are used to hearing from educators. They are used to hearing from parents about these things. And that's very important. They are not used to hearing from all of you about this and what the implications are broadly for our society. So what that means is you can have a real impact by talking about this, have a real impact on decision-making happening at both the state and federal level. What we do to have that impact is everything from signing on to letters to policymakers. So for example, in Illinois, every year we send a letter from Mission Readiness members to the governor and the legislative leaders outlining our policy priorities for that year and our recommendations for that year. That's kind of one of the lighter lift things that we do, but we also do things like meet with policymakers in their districts, in state capitals, in Washington, D.C. Our members testify before legislative bodies, which you'll hear about in a little bit. And they do media outreach, as Steve was talking about. So things like news events. We work to place op-eds and letters to the editor in newspapers all over. And then from time to time, we release a research report, often with a media event. Our members are, we hope, well-staffed and supported in all of these activities. And what that means is you do not need to arrive at any of these things with early childhood development expertise or as an expert in child nutrition. your expertise and your experience from your career is the most powerful thing that you can bring to the table on these topics. You have incredible credibility with policymakers because of that. And what we will do on our end is make sure you have the information you need to be effective. We would never use your name without permission. And as Jill mentioned, every member can evaluate each opportunity for action on a case-by-case basis. If you say yes to one thing and no to another thing, our feelings will not be hurt. That is totally acceptable, and membership is not contingent on participating in everything that we ask. And, you know, just ultimately, we try to make this as easy as we can. We know you're busy folks, and we want you to enjoy the time that you spend working on these topics. If we did a meeting with a policymaker, for example, we'd brief you ahead of time. We'd make sure that you have talking points. We'd get your questions answered ahead of time, and then we'd attend the meeting as staff backup for you. So that's what our members do. I do think it's important just to say a couple of things about what we do not do. So Jill mentioned we don't require any fees or dues to participate. It's really entirely about volunteering your time. It's also important to mention we are proudly nonpartisan. So we are a 501c3. We do not endorse candidates. We do not make political contributions. We also do not operate any programs or services of our own. And so what that means is the resources that we are talking to policymakers about do not go to mission readiness at all. And there's actually power in that. We're a third party voice speaking out for the programs in your own communities that probably already exist at local schools, at community-based organizations. Our members often find that participation allows them to both tackle this big pressing public policy problem and also do good things for their own communities and their own hometowns. I know a number of TFGON members are members of Mission Readiness. I think there are several on the board. We thought that it would be nice for others to hear directly from a member about his experience with Mission Readiness, and Brigadier General Roger Matchett has generously agreed to talk about some things that he has done here in Illinois. General Matchett, we'd love to hear why you got involved, activities you've participated in, and what it was like.
Well, thank you, Sally, and Joe and Steve. Thank you very much for talking with us today. I got involved with Mission Readiness about 5 years ago. Another board member from TFGON, Brigadier Chief Steve Kurta, told me about Mission Readiness. I never heard of it prior to that, but the message that Mission Readiness is carrying forward is something that is truly near and dear to my heart, and probably near and dear to everybody's heart that's within TFGON. Not only am I retired member of the military, just like everyone else on our within TFGON, but I'm a father of two and a grandfather of two, and the issues revolving around early childhood development are truly near and dear to my heart. So getting involved with Mission Readiness was a natural fit for me. But as Sally pointed out, my background is certainly not in any of these areas of early childhood development or legislative affairs or anything else. The complexity of what happens in Springfield, Illinois is way above my caliber of knowledge. But the good thing was that Mission Readiness was able to teach me and brief me on the current issues. The 77% of ineligibility across our nation for military service, hits you square between the eyes as a national security issue. But as I think it was Steve pointed out, that if 77% of our youth can't even apply for the military, that is really a problem for our whole society, that we can do better for our children in getting them a good head start, both in education and nutrition and health. After I joined Mission Readiness, I found out that my good friend, Brigadier General Gary Prophet, has been part of Mission Readiness. I think he's a plank holder. He joined back when Mission Readiness first started in 2009. His experiences and mine have been quite similar. I've written op-eds in local papers, advocating for passing of funding for early childhood development. I was able to testify down in Illinois, in Springfield, in front of the Illinois House Veterans Affairs Committee, able to explain to them, along with several other general officers, why it is so important to the future of our society. We were warmly received, and it was a wonderful experience. Also, I've spoken in front of county representatives and other things like this. And each time I was able to do that, I was well briefed and informed of the issues by the staff here in Illinois. I want to share a personal story that I think is kind of a here. I have a grandson who's 4.5 years old now. When he was born, we started to notice that he just wasn't keeping up with his peers. At age 1, he wasn't talking. At 18 months, he still wasn't talking. And in about 2 years, we finally were able to get him some in-home care to start teaching him how to speak and how to catch up with his age group. Well, I'm here to report that at 4.5 years, he's been able to attend pre-kindergarten for 2 years. He's reading at a second grade level for a 4.5-year-old. He talks up a storm, and at this point, I can understand about 80% of what he's saying, but it's his advancements in just 2 years, 2.5 years of this early childhood intervention has meant a world of difference, and I can't imagine where he'd be without that. Now, I'm not crediting Mission Readiness for getting us that intervention, but it was partially, certainly through the efforts of Mission Readiness throughout the years in the state of Illinois that made sure that the funding was there for the school district to serve my grandson. It's serving my grandson. It's going to be benefiting all the kids in need of help at that early age throughout the state of Illinois. So in closing, I'd like to throw out to my fellow TFGON members that becoming involved with Mission Readiness is certainly a worthwhile use of your time. It's not doesn't eat up your entire day. It doesn't take up a whole lot of time, but the time that you invest in Mission Readiness is value added for your local and state educational funding. If you're getting involved at the national level, it's certainly of a value there as well. I highly endorse it, and I encourage everybody in TFGON to get involved. The more of us saying the same thing to the people who are controlling the money that's influencing our children and our future, the better for all of us. So to Steve, Sally, and Jill, thank you for this time to share my thoughts, and I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, General Matchett. We really appreciate working with you here in Illinois. And in general, we really appreciate your time and attention to all of this. I think like I said, there are a number of TFGON members who may also be Mission Readiness members. And of course, we thank them for their leadership as well. And we hope that if people are not members, as General Matchett suggested, they'll join us. And there is a link that we may be able to put in a chat. I'm not sure, where you can sign up using an online form. Otherwise, if you would like to join or you have questions, you can email anyone listed on this slide, which is Jill, Steve, and I, and send your contact information. And we're happy to either add you as a member or talk more with you about what membership entails. So from there, I think that is it. And I think we can turn to questions.
All right, fantastic. Thanks so much for that. That was terrific. I appreciate what you guys do. I mean, it's 77% of folks can't walk into a recruiter's office and sign up on the day of walking in. That is a serious issue, and not just because of the national security implications you guys mentioned, but just to think of what the implications are for just the young folks. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Hey, Steve, one thing you said that really resonated with me too is that you said that within Pennsylvania, 50% of the kids in Pennsylvania are on Medicaid. That I don't know if I don't. That's a stat I have never heard before. That is amazing, and quite frankly, surprising.
Yeah, it's something that we unfortunately, when the federal government was proposing rolling back support for Medicaid, it's something that we took members and we walked the halls of Congress in February and said, we just want you to be aware that this is the reality, and aside from covering kids, you know, Pennsylvania is a very urban pockets, but we have vast amounts of rural areas that if Medicaid support went away, it puts rural hospitals on the list to potentially close as well. So we're monitoring it closely, and we're working with state officials that if you know that obviously these cuts haven't happened yet, but when and if they do, um, you know, will the state backfill some of the support that might disappear? That's a conversation we're keeping the door open to here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, thanks for that. I know in a prep for this, I'd mentioned that I worked at the Council of Foreign Relations in New York City, and New York is incredibly patriotic. It's just an amazingly supportive city for folks that are in the military and law enforcement, et cetera. But when I went out and I would talk to folks about military service and give them the statistics that you talked about, which is like I think at that time it was around 71. I think you said about in 2017, said about the time I was in New York, incredibly shocking to folks that they had no idea. They just didn't know. So I found that in that experience for the year, one of the things that folks benefited from is just having people in the military talk about the experience and also talk to them about the statistics, the demographics. I'm curious, and I guess this is for all three of you, and maybe Roger too, as you engage with lawmakers and folks in the policy side and talk to them about these statistics, are they surprising to them, or is this is just they just don't know, or what's your experience been like? And I guess I'm just kind of throwing it to all of you. So maybe Jill, maybe, or Roger, maybe I'll throw it to you.
I'll throw in there. Speaking from my experience, it's somewhat mixed. I think that the statistics are being briefed to our legislative leaders with some frequency. So when they hear it from me, they have heard it before, but it's still treated as a shocking number, a disturbing number that they are paying attention to. And it's not a number that's coming from mission readiness. It's a number that's coming from the Department of Defense, Department of War. So it is of a concern. It hits them between the eyes.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I think with certainly with policymakers, it makes a difference. With staff as well, a lot of staff are more junior, and you know, it's not necessarily something that they've heard before. So a lot of times it really catches their attention. And I think when you start talking about also what you do about it and the fact that it starts at a really young age, the things that you can do to help prevent that ineligibility later on, that's something that really people don't think about it. You know, you think about it like what do you do when they're a teenager, when they're graduating high school, that type of thing. But the early intervention piece has been very interesting, and the nutrition and obesity piece as well, since that's the largest piece of the disqualifier.
I'll just add
Yeah,
very briefly that we like to do every couple of years a briefing for new legislators here in Illinois. And when we do that, that is inevitably the time where they are shocked by those numbers. Most of them have not ever heard that when they're coming into office. So the good thing about talking to them early about this, just like with everything, apparently, starting early is the best time when they're new. That stays with them in a remarkable way. So when we talk to them, when they're brand new to office and they're kind of enthusiastic and ready to learn, they will remember that 3 years later. You'll see them, in a hallway or something like that, and they will remember, oh, you're the one who told me this incredible number. It sticks with people.
Hey,
yeah,
Jill, very much for what you guys do. I tell you what, I mean, this is fantastic. I was unfamiliar with the organization and have learned a lot. Could you give us a little State of the Union? What are your biggest needs right now? Is it financial? Is it having enough active general officer and flag officers? What keeps you all up at night, or how can we help you more?
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's both, I think. I mean, we've got a number of different challenges. One is on the policy side. It's not unique to mission readiness. It's anyone who's advocating for anything at this point. There's a lot of noise that we have to cut through. And so we're fortunate to be able to work with people like you all who can attract attention and get meetings at a time when it's really difficult to do so. And I can at least speak at the federal level. I'll let Steve and Sally speak to the political climate at the state level. It's also fundraising. As I mentioned, we went through a transition where we were with Council for a Strong America. Mission Readiness was well known there, did great work. It's sort of the same great organization, but in a different package. And so it's great to have an opportunity to speak with people like you all and to amplify that we are still around, that we're still doing really great work, and that we're still worth supporting. And so we're trying to get that word out. As I mentioned, philanthropic private foundations are the entities that have funded us most in the past and probably our best path forward. But we have also in the past talked with corporations and others who have been interested in the national security perspective. And so we all, welcome any suggestions on that front. And then similarly with a leaner staff, we are strengthening and thinking about our sustainability moving forward now that we're with the Institute for Child Success. And it's great to have opportunities where we're in front of members or potential members and that we can recruit new folks. And so any amplification that you all are able to do within your network would be greatly appreciated. Steve, Sally, do you have other?
Curious, how big is your professional staff across the country?
That's a great question. We're probably at about a dozen or so now. At one point with Council for a Strong America, and this is with large organization, other advocacy networks as well, we were more than 60 people. And so we are a fraction by design, but I will say we have a much better business plan than we did, a year or so ago when, as a lot of other nonprofits, it was a challenging time.
And you said you had 800 general officers and flag officers. How many volunteers do you have that help with the staffing, or do you have, or do you have that, or just the professionals?
It's just the professionals at this point. So it's Steve and Sally, other colleagues in different states, and then a small team within the Institute for Child Success.
That's a lot of work. Anyway, we sure appreciate what you guys are doing. That's fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please. Hey, Sally, did you have something? Okay. Awesome. Well, anybody else? Lou, do you have any questions or anything? Anybody else? Yeah, good, please, Lou.
Yeah, if you can hear me okay, I've got a lousy connection. I've heard you guys pretty well. I'm very impressed how you made the transition between having a higher headquarters that went away and being able to reestablish. Gary Prophet kept us informed of your situation, and it wasn't looking real good a year or two ago, but I'm delighted that you weathered that storm, and you're doing really, really good work. The numbers are just, I'm overwhelmed by the numbers from a military readiness standpoint and from a health standpoint for the youth of America. What you're doing is very important. what we've been able to do for you guys, and Gary's probably let you know this, we've publicized Mission Readiness several times. It's on our website that we have the affiliation with you, and we have on occasion amplified on our bi-weekly Starline newsletter and our weekly all hands letter. So we will continue to do that and make sure that we have the connections established so that we can facilitate folks in our organization that want to join with you. But I'm very impressed. I'm really glad that I listened in tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well,
There's nothing better
thank
than
you
others
again. I
hearing
mean,
from you all. So we appreciate your willingness to speak up on our behalf.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again. Thanks for spending some time with us tonight. Thank you for being gracious and allowing us to record this whole session too, so that other members can learn more about Toulouse Point, can learn more about Mission Readiness and how they can contribute and support as well. So with that, thank you so much. Appreciate what you all do, and keep up the good work. And looking forward to continue to support you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.